members of the board, I have been repeatedly called about, from staff, about postings on Facebook, let's say by the board, as to whether or not those postings violate the board rules and policies. Because the assertion was they do. I have not looked at them deliberately, all right, because I've been around long enough, it is clear that they want me to give direction if I think it's a violation to remove it. The board can authorize me or the superintendent to have that authority. I would say whoever's authorized should first get with the board member and talk about whether or not the board member agrees when they understand rules in that, and if they agree to remove it, it's kept on record, but it's off the school district Facebook, and that closes the matter. If they don't, we ultimately could have me go, no, it's out. I don't prefer to be in that role, quite candidly. We could then bring it back to the board itself and have the matter decided by the board. But I don't need any more calls on the issue, and I'm not going to make the decision unless the board says, no, you as the lawyer will look at it and decide.
What does the rule say about what we're allowed to post or not post? That's, I mean, that's what we have you.
Right. Well, let's put it on the next agenda and we'll put up the rule. But the rule talks about you can't use it for political purposes. And candidly, some stuff I can look at and go, that's absolutely political. Other stuff, it's in the eyes of the beholder. And you gotta talk to the person who posted it. So,
I would say that we should have a discussion about it, but I would also ask you to put yourself, if this was a teacher doing it,
right.
how would you ask us to proceed? Not today.
No, I'm gonna tell you right
Think
now.
about it.
It would be the superintendent's responsibility to deal with the teacher. All right?
I'm pretty confident that we have had teachers' behavior
Right.
called up.
Yep.
And what is and what isn't allowed, and I do think that we should all be held to the same standard. That's my personal opinion.
Well, in the meantime, I'm gonna advise the board, when I'm told about this, I'm gonna get with each board member, whoever it's raised about, and go through with whatever I'm told. And I'm gonna rely on the board member to make their judgment, and until the board gives direction otherwise. I am not going to serve in a role of the arbiter of this is this or this is that. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. I don't think it's my role to do that until the board clarifies that is your role and you interpret it. And I'm not asking you to do that, right? Or the board says, no, we'll decide it at each meeting. But I'm telling you, it's an issue.
I think
for
the
staff.
challenge that I have right now is that every board meeting, we're sucking up 35 minutes of time that we should be discussing students on things that have nothing to do with students because of noise that's happening outside. And I need to end that. I think that it's irresponsible of us to continue having these conversations. So maybe the consideration board is, do we need social media? Maybe that's the consideration, because I don't want to spend any more time going through people's behaviors because it is noise, and we have a lot of work to do that we consistently don't do because we are addressing outside things. Personally, that's where I'm at. So if you want to bring it to the next board meeting, one second, Mr. Arguello. I see your light. I understand. You will have your moment to speak. We have a lot of work to do, and we're not doing it because we're spending probably 70% of our meetings discussing things that are outside of what our job is. And we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing as board members. We need to end this. So, in my opinion, bring up the rule and we're objective about it. If this was any other person, would we allow this to continue? We have very clear statements as board members that are not even mandated locally but by the state. We are nonpartisan. Anytime that anyone has even tried to make any kind of motion that is even close to partisan, it's been shut down, except under certain circumstances. I don't use, certain people use their social media pages how they want. But if it is causing this much of an issue and this much time from business, this is a business meeting, and we know that, that's why there's an agenda of things that we're supposed to be doing. 70% of the time we're spending talking about outside behavior. And I'm sick of it.
I want to follow up on that if there's Mr. Arguello.
Yeah, so I think that you just spent more time talking about social media than we ever have here at the school board on the dais. But number one, we are not teachers, okay? We are elected officials, so we work for a specific group of people, which is the citizens. We don't work for the superintendent works for us. And you may be the chairwoman, but I don't work for you. And Mr. Bass does not work for you. And apparently everyone feels like you guys work for somebody else, but it's neither here nor there. The fact is we are elected people and we have a responsibility. So what you're saying is because you don't like something that might be said on social media, what we're gonna do is prevent them from using social media from communicating with the people who vote for them because you don't wanna do business. At any point in time, listen, I block off the whole night. I'll be here until 12 at midnight if you wanna continue working. If there's something that you think that we're not accomplishing, bring it up.
John, that's not.
Hold on. So I think that if there's grandstanding that I've ever seen, that's actually it because it doesn't make sense with what he's speaking of. And when we have teachers speaking about teachers, I've had teachers during school hours respond to posts that I make, okay? During school hours, respond to posts that I make who is related to our PIO, so they should know better. So when these things are happening, this is, when you talk about partisanship, there's two parties right now. It's not right or left, okay? It's establishment versus the community. Those are the two parties that are at stake right now. That's the partisanship going on. And I think what you're fearing when it comes to social media is 600 people here sending letters saying, hey, you know what? You're right about the stuff that you're saying at that school board meeting, and we've had enough. We've had enough of all the stuff that you guys are doing. So it's not about what's going on social media. And I've also requested, FYI, because I'm sure that this has to do with my social media, right? So I've requested for that social media page to be reverted to me.
That's perfect. That's a perfect way to deal with it.
That's a perfect way to
I
deal
love
with it.
that.
I agree with that.
Because at the
So-
end of the day,
Madam Chair, can I please speak?
yes, thank you.
All right. You're turning it, I tried to keep this very professional and say there was an issue.
You did.
And you're turning it into something I deliberately did not want it to be. I didn't mention any board member. We have rules, the state has rules. You cannot use public property for political reasons.
And I think it's
And there are things that are showing up that would violate that, all right? Now, I told you I will talk with the board member. If there's a problem, then it continue, I'm just gonna bring it back to the board. But there's no other agenda there than that, all right?
Maybe not on your behalf.
Well, it's me that I'm dealing with it, all right? If there's other agendas, you can deal with those people, but not when I'm trying to deal with the issue that's in my lap and keeping this system in compliance with applicable law.
I understand what he's saying,
Nothing.
I'm ready to move on.
We create an issue where we're gonna talk about something, and it's clearly one person. Maybe you have been professional, Frank, I'm not arguing with that. But you're carrying the water, right? For somebody who's complaining in staff is complaining, oh, someone is using the page to make a political statement. We're elected. And there's no statements that I'm making that are right or left. And it's gotta be me, I imagine.
Mr.
Let me
Koppenbacher, if I may, I'm gonna ask you if the
Yes.
board is okay with it, to bring this back to the board with board rules for us locally, as well as what statute says, what board members, how we are supposed to conduct ourselves, because there's no agenda. There's policy and there's statute, and
Yes.
I need us to understand that, not just on the dais, but also the public. So,
Yes.
and I think that that's where we're gonna end the conversation.
And you can do what I'm about to say in a workshop or at the board meeting, but I wanna talk to you about Rule 2.70. I have never seen a rule like this anywhere, and it's being used, in my opinion, for legitimate reasons and for what I call political illegitimate reasons. And that is the ability of someone to file a complaint saying that a board member has harassed or discriminated them, and then requiring under the rules that I hire an outside person to investigate it. There is a state ethics commission that does investigations if there's a violation of your role as a board member. And there's a state attorney's office. This rule said long before we had a problem, you are all politically elected. You're in a political environment, whether anybody likes it or not. This rule lets anybody allege anything and open the door to investigations, right? I've got 3 more that I have to deal with, right? And it doesn't give me as the general counsel the ability to go, we're not the appropriate body, this should be sent to the ethics commission if you want it dealt with or not. And so I'm gonna talk to you about that rule and give you some proposed revisions. We don't need to talk about it tonight, but I do not want my board, any one of you, subject to abuses from complaints. And that's not to say there aren't legitimate complaints given, but there's gotta be some governor on it